I greet you in Jesus' precious name. It's wonderful to be with you again on the program. I want to speak to you today about base things. Base things. Now, if we go to the first book of Corinthians, chapter 1 and verse 28, the Bible tells us very clearly, and the base things of the world and the things which are despised, God has chosen. God chooses ordinary people like you and me. He really does. Right through the Bible, you can see it. He chose David, the youngest of 8. He chose Saul, who was so shy, the first king. He chose Moses, who spoke with a stutter. The Lord does that all the time, folks. Why? I don't know why. Maybe because he doesn't want to share his glory with any man. I looked up the Oxford Dictionary to find out the literal meaning of the word base. It means low social class. So the Lord takes the poor of this world, the people that come from the other side of the railway track, as they say, and he uses them. He chose 12 base men, ordinary men, fishermen, tax collectors, even one was a terrorist. And he used these 12 uneducated men, unknown men, not known by anybody, to change the whole world. Because after them, this world was never the same again. Those 12 men were working together. Each one had his own speciality. Each one did his own special work for God. We are not all the same, and he doesn't want us to be all the same. He's created every one of us differently. I want to say to you today, my dear friend, God wants you. He doesn't need you. He doesn't need anybody. He's God. He can say one word and everything that you see here has come into place. But he wants you because he loves you. And he wants to use you for his kingdom purposes. Are you available? And are you ready? That's the only thing he needs. You know, I've got some amazing stories that I could tell you if we had time. Because one of my special things that I do is to read biographies and autobiographies of famous people. William Carey was an Englishman who was a cobbler, not even a shoemaker, a cobbler, one who repairs shoes. And God sent him to India, which, by the way, is now the biggest population group on earth. And he went there thinking he was going to be an evangelist, but it didn't work. But God had another plan for William Carey. He had an incredible gifting in translating languages. And he translated this book that I'm holding right now into Hindi, into Sanskrit, and all these difficult languages. And as a result, many souls, maybe more than any evangelist has ever preached to, have come to Christ. What about D.L. Moody? He had no education. He was a shoe salesman from Chicago. He went to Britain and he was there for a couple of years, and 2 or 3 million people came to Christ. What about James Hudson Taylor? James Hudson Taylor was an Englishman that went to China. And he learned to speak Mandarin, one of the hardest languages to learn. He dressed up like a Chinese man. And I tell you what, he sowed seeds. The biggest revival in the world today is happening in a country that does not acknowledge Christianity. In the underground church, something like 60 million Christians in China. And then what about our beloved David Livingstone, if you come from Africa? He came to Africa as a doctor. And through his letters writing back to Britain, he abolished the horrible slave trade. Today, give God everything you've got, and he'll use it. Goodbye.